My name is David, and I was born in Dagenham in Essex. I only lived there 3 weeks, but when I was 28 years old, I worked out I'd moved 28 times. So nowhere felt exactly majorly like home. This is actually the longest I've lived anywhere in my life. I've been here 15 years now in Luton. So the reason that we ended up in Luton, Claire and I, well, Claire was already here before we got married, but when she and I got married, we moved out to Barcelona where I was living, and I basically was working there. But unfortunately, due to ill health, we ended up having to cancel the plans that we had, and we came back to England so that Claire could become the breadwinner whilst I tried to recover from this illness. So in terms of how I became a Christian, that's when I was about 9 years old at the time. So we moved back from Spain where I'd lived as a child, and we ended up near a Sunday school, which my mum sent me to. And that's where I found out about Jesus for the first time. And this man told us about what Jesus had done, how he died for us so we could have a relationship with God. And I was interested. I was like, yeah, I want that. So I became a Christian and was pretty eager. So I was all out for God at the time as much as I could be. But at the same time, I struggled at school. You wouldn't necessarily have known that I was a Christian. That was kind of like a conflicted sort of lifestyle at times, and it all came to a head really just before I was 17. So I actually read the Bible cover to cover in 3 months after my GCSEs. And what I found was the God in the Bible just didn't seem to match the all-loving God that I kept hearing about at church, and I really didn't get it. I was like, this God I was reading about, hell came up so much, and God seemed so angry, and there were lots of people he killed and had killed, and it's just like, who is this God? And and at that time I was also, to be honest, I was like, sin. It's like, wow, actually, I quite enjoyed it, and it's like, but I kept trying to stop, and I would feel guilty because I was a Christian, and it just came to this stage where I said to God, look, I've had enough. I can't take this anymore. And I turned my back on God, and I just said, enough's enough, and I don't want to be a Christian anymore. And it was really hard for my parents, especially my mum, who'd really encouraged me as a Christian throughout my life. And I just quit on God. And for 4 years, it was basically the rule at home was, you do not speak to me about religion. I have no interest, and I would get really angry if anybody tried. But then 4 years later, I was staying at my parents' house when they went off on holiday for 3 weeks, and they left me in their home in a town I'd never lived in before. I didn't know anybody, and I got really bored. And so one day I just went rummaging around the house. I went to the garage, found some boxes with my old stuff, and in one of them I found this. I found my old Bible, and I was like, wow, oh, I remember that. And for one moment, I just like, curiosity got the better of me, and I just picked it up because I remember I used to love it. And I just opened it up, and I turned to Ezekiel, and what I read freaked me out. It basically said, when a good person turns away from good and turns to evil, all the good things they ever did will be forgotten, and that person will die for their sin. I was like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. So I just quickly flicked to another page and read it, and it was later on in Ezekiel, many chapters later, it said exactly the same. I was like, whoa! As I flicked way, way, way more pages, hundreds of pages, I came to the New Testament, and I read in John basically exactly the same thing about Jesus is the vine, and if a branch doesn't remain in me, it withers and basically just gets thrown in the fire. And I just made the connection that that's hell he's talking about. And I turned to another passage. Same thing again, 4 passages in a row. I turned to a 5th passage, and it just blew my mind. The 5th passage said this: Then Jesus told this parable. A man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he went to look for fruit on it, but did not find any. So he said to the man who took care of the vineyard, For 3 years now I've been coming to look for fruit on this fig tree and haven't found any. Cut it down. Why should it use up the soil? Sir, the man replied, leave it alone for 1 more year, and I'll dig round it and fertilize it. If it bears fruit next year, fine. If not, then cut it down. And I just really felt that God was saying, you've got 12 months to decide, me or not me. And by that stage, I really didn't like God. I really resented the fact that he sent people to hell, and I really didn't like him. And for 6 months, I was just like, I really didn't want to turn to God. But at the same time, I was terrified of hell. So I started reading the Bible. I started reading Christian biographies. And eventually, at the end of 6 months, my view of God got changed by God just kept bringing back to memory these 3 Christian couples I'd known over the years. And basically, they oozed God's love. And I realized, actually, yeah, God can be very angry, and I really didn't like the idea of hell, but he's also a God of love. And that balanced it out for me. And basically, I returned to God. And yeah, that's basically my story. So yeah. And maths is a massive thing. That is why God keeps bringing me back, keeps turning me back to God, is maths. Like the 5 passages I turn to, statistically, what is the chance all 5 passages would be telling the exact same thing? And yeah, that just blows my mind. There's so much to do with maths and God. Probability just gets turned on its head with God, especially prayer. Just, yeah, massive. So anyway, thank you. That's me. Bye-bye.